In a sea of internet spoilers, we are your island oasis. Happy San Diego Comic-Con weekend, guys. And if you're tuning in on Sunday, that probably means you're at con and ran out of money.
Or you could be like me and be not at the con and out of money. But either way, we are here for you. Tom is at San Diego Comic-Con, and we are here holding down the fort and bringing you the top 10 trending comics like we do every single week. Same as always, and let's just jump right into it. Number 10 this week, kind of not surprising to see this book on here. This is a brand new book this week, NYX number 1, the 1 in 100 Art Germ Virgin variant.
We are seeing $125 average sales, high sales around $200, and there are even pre-sales at $260 for a CGC 9.8. This is no surprise, and it's great that we have a kickoff for the new NYX number 1. And even if the Wolverine Deadpool movie hadn't come out this week, I still believe Art Germ's art would have made it on here.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer. And also, if you're like me and you're kind of a sucker for trade dress, I usually prefer trade dress over Virgins. There is a version of this cover that you can probably just get for cover price that has the same artwork on it, just says NYX on it too. So either way, if you have $200+ to blow on a book that is a 1 in 100 variant, or if you only have $4 or probably $5 since this is a Marvel number 1 and inflation is a thing, you could get this book either way. And it's also written by Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing, the Hive Mind, so I'm actually probably going to check this one out, even though I'm not a huge X-Men person.
We've been doing this trending list for over 6 years, and this list is sourced from a larger list of 20 books over on the Key Collector app. Please bear in mind that a lot of these are going to be influenced by the Deadpool Wolverine movie that just came out, so tread lightly with the app. But if you haven't checked it out yet, use code TOM101 for 2 free weeks of the best comic book app in existence.
Yeah, and like Russ hinted at too, there's 20 books on there. We picked 10 of them, but a lot of those books, a whole bunch more of them, are based on Deadpool Wolverine speculation. If you can even call it speculation at this point, because the movie's out now, so we're going to figure out after all this time and after all these rumors whether or not any of this stuff is actually going to pan out or not. Marvel did spoil it for us that NYX will be appearing in this movie in their most recent trailer, so we know that much at least, and that is why she has a pretty big presence over there on the Trending 20. We only included a handful of her keys, but there's some other ones there too. If that's your jam, you should go check that out. Tom101 is the code. That'll get you 2 free weeks. Russ already said all that, so let's get back to the list. Number 9, Spectacular Spider-Man number 101 on here out of nowhere.
This is an iconic John Byrne cover, and definitely one of those that I will always pick up if I find it in a collection or find out in the wild. It's just a super cool black and white cover. This is originally released in 1985 and one of my favorite negative space covers, selling for $30 average sales and a high 9.8 recent sale of $400 back in May of this year. Now, the thing that I found really cool when doing a little bit of price research was that there was a recent Mark Jeweler 9.8 sale for $2,500. So for all you boo birds out there that are talking about how Mark Jeweler shouldn't be worth anymore, they are definitely scarce because this is the first and only 9.8 that has come on the market in forever.
This was actually the cover that taught me what negative space even meant. I remember having Tom explain what negative space means. It's all black, it's all white, there's a lot of stuff in the shadows. It's a gorgeous cover. It's one of my favorites. We're seeing a 150% increase in copies sold this week for no real reason. It's not like there's any Spider-Man news in the comic book marketplace lately. It's just a really cool book, and it deserves some love. Give it some love.
Number 8 on the list, another one of these perpetually relevant books from the 80s that seem to pop up left and right. Sometimes there's news, sometimes there's not. This one, Batman The Dark Knight Returns number 1, we are seeing a 137% increase in copies sold this week on the announcement that Frank Miller and Klaus Janson are going to be doing a signing. $200 average sales for a first print of this book. Bear in mind that there are multiple printings of this. You should check on the inside cover, and multiple 9.8 sales in the $700 range.
Last time we talked about this book back in March, there was another Frank Miller signing. He does a lot of these apparently, so this time it is cool to see Frank Miller and Klaus Janson, so you can get multiple creators of this iconic classic book to sign your copy. Might not be a bad idea.
This next book is the first one on the list that is actually driven by San Diego Comic-Con news, which is kind of shocking because there are so many exclusives that were released at San Diego Comic-Con. So number 7, we are seeing Death's Head number 1 from 1988. $15 average sales, a high 9.6 sale of $75. I don't know why this book is so difficult in high grade. I have sent in 3 copies to CGC, and there's only like 22 slabs on which means I've sent in like 8% of the copies on CGC. I've never gotten above a 9.6. This is a tough book in high grade.
Yeah, I took a look on GPA earlier, and there just aren't a whole lot of graded sales of this book. Yeah, like Russ said, there's only 22 slabs total on the census, so it makes sense that we wouldn't see a whole lot of them changing hands. But we are seeing a 300% increase in copies sold of this book because of the exclusive figure that was just released at San Diego. The Marvel Legends figure goes for $40, and I imagine people are picking up this comic because they want to display it right next to that beautiful, rare action figure.
I really think the low paper quality in the Marvel UK imprint just lends itself to why these are so difficult. In the mid to late 80s, Marvel had an imprint that was trying to focus on more of these characters and sell more books in the UK market, and the paper quality just wasn't there. I think that's the biggest reason.
This book is a repeat offender. I feel like we're always talking about this book for reasons we're about to get into. Nova, number 1 from 1976, is here on the list. At number 6, we're seeing $130 average sales with a high 9.8 of $1,000 earlier this month.
It's a 222% increase in copies sold this week, and I love that in our notes, it's saying that in January 2021, the MCU maintains their intention to use Nova. We have been talking about this book on the list since we started this list. The Nova rumors have been persistent, and Kevin Feige does not let up. He will absolutely drop these breadcrumbs every 6 to 12 months just to keep these Nova fans waiting.
Yeah, and it's not like other things like Ghost Rider or something where we're totally just crossing our fingers and wishing without any sort of confirmation from people at Marvel. Like Kevin Feige specifically says, Nova's cool, I want to make Nova, Nova's going to happen. And this week, while doing press for Deadpool Wolverine, he was actually asked again about the status of the Nova project, and he confirmed that, yeah, it's in development, we want to make it a series, but it's not going to be out for another 3 to 4 years, which in Marvel time means never, I guess, because stuff shifts and gets pushed back and delayed all the time, so who knows?
This is the Duke Nukem 3D of comic books.
Excellent reference.
There we go.
Yeah, you think it'll never happen, and then it'll happen, and it's not
Not
good. Fingers crossed, though. Nova should be much better than Duke Nukem 3D, so we can put that quote on the back of the box once the DVD finally comes out.
Number 5 on the list, this is an X-Men run that I really think everyone should be reading. Grant Morrison's X-Men run is fantastic. There are so many first appearances. There are so many cool things that differ from the previous X-Men run. Check out number 5 on the list, New X-Men number 114. We're seeing $18 average sales and a high 9.8, $120.
This is a different Nova. First appearance of Cassandra Nova, who is like a weird clone sister of Charles Xavier, who we know is going to be the villain, or maybe one of the villains, in Deadpool Wolverine, played by Emma Corrin. I kind of forgot about this character, honestly. We've been talking about Deadpool Wolverine so much between Lady Deadpool and Dogpool and Wolverine and Sabretooth and all these other characters that have been confirmed. I almost forgot about the, presumably lead antagonist of the movie. Yeah, I don't even really need to go into too much more detail. The movie comes out like today. It's out right now. A lot of people have already seen it. I'm sure I hope she plays a pretty cool role. I was actually really excited to see her character in the trailer. It looks like she's got some weird attitude to her that I wasn't expecting beforehand. I have not read this run, and I actually really need to prioritize it.
It's a 206% increase in copies sold this week, which surprisingly is one of the bigger increases that we have on the list.
Speaking of comics I still need to read, we're here at number 4 on the list. Minor Threats, number 1 from 2022. This is a very modern book. I absolutely should have read this, but I skipped out on it. We're seeing $5 average sales and a recent high of $50 from back in June. This book is written by Patton Oswalt and Jordan Bloom, and it was actually just optioned. Every week we get some option news about some title or other, and it ends up making its way onto the list, and this week is no exception.
This is our second biggest increase this week at 650%, and it's on a book that nobody was specking on. Patton Oswalt, people forget that he's been in the MCU. He was in the S.H.I.E.L.D. show. He was MODOK. And this guy is just one of those consummate comic book fans. He's a great geek. I love the stuff that he does. I think he's got a great sense of humor. And this was a fun read. There is also a graphic novel out there that is signed by Patton Jordan and another one of the creators that's all over Amazon. It's all over eBay. And it's like $40 for a signed graphic novel. So go check those out.
I do want to give Patton Oswalt props for doing the companion podcast to the comic book No One, which I feel like I'm the only person reading from Image Comics. It's a cool little book with a in-universe podcast that you can actually go out and listen to and hear him in your eardrums if you don't want to read a book he's written or watch him on any of the numerous film and TV projects he's worked on. So it's good to see a comic book writer getting the chance to play something on live action for once.
Now, Tom is not here because he is at San Diego for the Comic-Con, but I do want to give a special Mike Mignola shout out. This book, Minor Threats #1, has a cover B by Mike Mignola. It is super tough to find, and there was only one graded when I was doing some research. So if you can find one, that might be the one to buy.
Speaking of Comic Tom, he would probably get mad at us if we did not mention that there is a product that we have for sale on our website called the Mystery Mail Call. Have you heard about this, Russ? Do you know what this is?
As a matter of fact, I have, and I think it's this monthly service where if you like comic books and you want to support the show, you should go over to ComicTom101.com and sign up for the Mystery Mail Call, where we give you exclusives every single month.
And this month, because it is Deadpool Wolverine time, we have Wolverine #1. It's a reprint, actually. What is it? His first ongoing series where he's standing on top of all those bodies?
Yes, Wolverine is Patch.
Is it ongoing series? Did I get that right?
It is his first ongoing series from 1988. It's a reprint with a different cover.
Shout out Cal New, by the way. That art is amazing on that cover. It is a very cool homage to the original cover of Wolverine #1, and you can get one of those. Everybody gets one of those guaranteed in their box, and that is not the only exclusive that will be going in the August Mystery Mail Call, but we will announce the other one soonish. I'm actually not even sure what the book is, so Tom's got to tell us before we can tell you. Go lock in your order right now, ComicTom101.com. You can subscribe if you want, or you can just grab a one-time box if that's your jam, too. Either way, we got you covered.
I've always wanted a Wolverine in my box.
All right, here at number 3 on the list, we got another pretty recent book from 2021, King Spawn, issue #1, $6 average sales. Pretty sure that's about cover price. That might even be a little less than cover price. This was a big book. It was a big launch back when it came out. We have seen a high 9.8 go for about $50 to $75, but there's a whole bunch of different variant covers for this one, too. So the prices are a little volatile, if you will.
So there were multiple different covers for this book. There was a Greg Capullo cover, there was a Todd McFarlane cover, there was a Puppeteer Lee cover. All of them were beautiful, and I think the reason why this book, Raw itself, is so cheap, mostly cover price, is because there were a ton of them ordered. For those of you that weren't paying attention to the industry back in 2021, this was the first really big Todd McFarlane, the whole like Spawn universe. He was kind of like rebooting the stuff, and he was going to do the new Gunslinger Spawn book. And this is well before Rat City came out. But when King Spawn came out, one of the big things they did was they were having a special signing where Todd McFarlane would have a 1 in 250 book, and he would sign and number every single one of these books, and then it would come with a little certificate, and you could send it off to CGC, and it would be a witnessed signature. I unfortunately missed the deadline, so I was not able to get mine signed, but seeing that normally those 1 in 250s with the Todd McFarlane signatures are going in the $500 to $550 range. It's not that shocking that a low-numbered one was only numbered 14 out of 1,697, and that one went for $1,000 just last month. People really do like this McFarlane stuff, and at a CGC Signature Series 9.8, they're willing to pay a lot for it. I just want to throw some numbers out for you. It's a 1 in 250. The special 1 in 250 was numbered 1,697. Every single shop that bought 250 copies got one of these signed ones. But that means there are 424,250 of the regular book, at least, because this doesn't count the numbers for the people that didn't buy 250. So the print run on this book, King Spawn #1, counting all of the basic cover price covers, is probably closer to 700 or 750,000. It's a massive print run. Do not overpay for this book. Yes, a 297% increase in copies sold. Yes, big news about the movie, but this is not something to go out and spend a ton of money on because they are out there and you will absolutely find them for cover price or less.
The big news that Russ was referring to, of course, is that we finally got a little tiny bitty update about the Spawn movie. We got on social media, Todd McFarlane himself shared a photo of the cover of the first draft of the screenplay, which is titled King Spawn. I guess that's why people are picking up this book, even though Supposedly, the plot of this movie has nothing to do with the plot of the King Spawn series. I assume it's going to be much more based on the classic Spawn. And actually, I found a cool quote from Todd McFarlane yesterday, actually, at the first day of San Diego. He took the stage and was talking about how excited he is for R-rated comic book movies.
Todd had this to say: Deadpool and Wolverine is going to open up giant. It's going to be a giant, giant number. On Monday, it's going to establish a number that everybody in Hollywood would look at and go, we need to do an R-rated comic book fair. I've been saying this forever. I agree. They're just finally going to come around to it.
And that's exciting, too. With the success of the Joker movie and the upcoming Joker 2 and now Deadpool Wolverine, I think studios are going to finally realize maybe an R-rated comic book movie is not as scary or just as much of a non-starter proposition as it might have been in years past.
So many people mistakenly think that the target demographic for comic books is 12, 13, 14-year-olds. Most of the guys that are buying comics at my shop are men that are in their 30s to 50s. That's the target demographic, and they definitely want to see R-rated movies.
All the way at number 2 on the list, we have another book that is hitting the list for no real reason other than possible spec. We've got Uncanny XMen 251 from 1989. This book is as old as I am. $20 average sales and a 9.8 hit a high of $195 just a few days ago.
Ryan, you make me feel so old. I actually remember buying this book off the rack, and it was one of those that you saw up there and you just knew you had to have it. It is such an iconic Mark Silvestri cover. And while so many people really talk about like the Jim Lee covers for Uncanny X-Men, I just think the fact that Silvestri did a fantastic run, his books are so overlooked. Classic cover, 279% increase in copies sold this week. And we're going to figure out real soon if it has anything to do with the new Deadpool Wolverine movie.
Now, this book's all the way here at number 2, which tells me that there's got to be something happening here. Maybe people know something we don't know. I guess we might get a shot of like a Wolverine variant, crucified up on one of these giant X's, paying homage to this cover. An Easter egg? Is that enough to, propel a book like this all the way up to number 2? It deserves love and recognition. It's an iconic cover, like Roz said, but it's interesting. It's got me curious.
This list has been a fun one so far. I like the fact that there are so many perpetually relevant books on there. The Spectacular 101, The Dark Knight Returns, Nova #1. These are books that we've seen before and we've talked about before. And another one of these books that is becoming more and more perpetually relevant because of the character is #1 this week. NYX #3, first appearance of X-23, Laura Kinney. We are seeing $450 average sales and a high 9.8 of $1,300.
And this one's all Marvel's fault. They spoiled like one of the most rumored character returns that we've been speculating on forever now. They showed Daphne Keane as X-23 in the most recent Deadpool Wolverine trailer. So that makes sense. We're seeing her at number 10 on the list because of a new book that just dropped this week, and all the way here at number 1 because we're getting the return of a character we haven't seen since Logan. Way back when.
It's an 800% increase in copies sold this week, and this is not a cheap book, but very well sought after. There have been rumors about X-23 being in the movie for a very, very long time, and now that we have confirmation, this book is probably going to be hanging out on these lists for quite some time.
And we also got confirmation from Kevin Feige again that there will be somebody else portraying the role of Wolverine in the future. And we've been speculating here on this channel, like who's going to carry on the mantle. And Daphne Keane's X-23 is one of the top contenders, I guess, between her and Dakin or Dakin or however the heck you pronounce his name. There's certain other people who could play Wolverine moving forward, and especially seeing her back in the movie here, I think that adds a lot more fuel to that fire.
This book has been on the trending list and the Hot 10 list multiple times, and I have a strong feeling that next week you're going to be hearing Comic Tom and Gem Mint talking about this on the Hot 10.
Well, until then, stay tuned. Thanks for hanging out with us. We're glad to be here. We're happy to hold it down while Mr. Tom is down having fun or doing something at San Diego. I don't know what he's doing down there, but I'm glad. I'd rather be here, if I'm being honest. That con is way too much for me. I went last year and it killed me. It almost really killed me, so I'm glad to be home with you.
We just suffered through over a week of 80+ degree days in Seattle. We didn't have rain for the first 24 days of July. I don't want to go to San Diego. I'm perfectly okay right here with you, Ryan.
And of course, with you. We love you. As always.
Geek responsibly.
Enough said.